Welcome. You're watching Checkpoint, and it's your favorite segment right here, Lay of the Land, where we sort of break down the numbers. At the end of the day, we've had it over and over again. The numbers will carry the day. So I have my screen here with me, and as you can see, these are the presidential results in the 2017 general election, and borrowing from some of the developments that played out this week. And I'd like us to focus on that just for a few minutes. We saw Kalonzo Musyoka, the Wiper party leader, make his way back to Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party, sort of giving his support to Raila Odinga, the One Kenya Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate right now that he has been cleared by IEBC. We just want to take a look at the impact of Kalonzo Musyoka and that all too important question that political pundits are raising. Is Kalonzo's base solid as when it was in the 2017 general election when he delivered the eastern votes to NASA? As you can see, Raila Odinga right there got 6.8 million votes, 44.94%. But key focus is on the political base of one Kalonzo Musyoka. And allow me to just zoom in into some of these counties that are considered his political base. Okay, it seems, there we go. So these are some of the counties that are considered his political base. Of course, not just limited to that, but Machakos, Makueni and Kitui County will play a considerable part in terms of the votes he will bring on the table when we take a look at the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party. So perhaps just borrowing from the 2017 general election, and if we can just zoom into one of the counties being Machakos, just taking a look at the votes that were handed over to Raila Odinga in favor of Raila Odinga, 381,000. He got 80% of the votes in Machakos County out of registered voters who are around 620,000. But equally, the jury will be out there in terms of whether Raila Odinga will be able to sort of maintain his perceived stronghold in Eastern, bearing in mind that one of the individuals who was successful in the governor's race, Alfred Mutua of Maendeleo Chapchap Party, and he got 249,954 votes in the 2017 general election. This particular individual is now paying allegiance to Kenya Kwanza, and this might sort of affect the matrix in terms of the votes that might be going to Raila Odinga and, in extension, Kalonzo Musyoka in the 2022 general election. Not just Alfred Mutua. When we take a look at the senator race, especially in 2013, yet another individual who's playing a significant role in the UDA party, Johnson Muthama, who was a senator in 2013 in Machakos County, got 200,000 votes against Boniface Kabaka, who was vying and got a second position with 23% of the votes. This particular individual, we well know, he's now paying allegiance to Kenya Kwanza, playing a significant role in the UDA party. So the jury will definitely be out there in terms of the changes all this might bring to the presidential candidate Raila Odinga and his numbers in the bigger picture. Not just that, that's definitely one of the counties, and we're focusing on Machakos, yet another county perhaps, and we can borrow from Kitui County, which, mind you, just today they were having the Wiper party primaries, and it was definitely a tough contest, and we understand the contest is between Dr. Malombe and Kiema Kilonzo, who are trying to get the Wiper ticket to unseat the governor of Kitui County, who is still in Azimio. And talk about sibling rivalry, perhaps playing out a little bit later on in the August 9th general election. So Charity Ngilu, of course, got 47% of the votes, followed closely by David Musila, who was an independent candidate. But this time round, this individual might be in the race if he's successful enough to get the party ticket Wiper in the August 9th general election for the governor's position. So those are some of the metrics that perhaps will play out in favor or against some of these coalition presidential candidates. But that's in Kitui County. Just briefly, let's take a look at how it might play out in one of the other counties, even as we take a look at the number of registered voters. Remember, this particular county, a close ally of Kalonzo Musyoka, Mutula Kilonzo Jr., who is a senator for 2 terms, is definitely eyeing the position of governor in this particular general election. And this might be interesting, bearing in mind Kivuda Kibwana, they've not really seen eye to eye with Kalonzo Musyoka. Yes, they might be in the same camp, but we well know of sibling rivalry in some of the political statements that have been made in political podiums that sort of, pull in different directions or give that particular picture. So those are some of the intrigues that might play out in the Eastern vote, which is quite predominantly assumed to be a vote base of Kalonzo Musyoka in terms of Machakos, Makueni, and Kitui. Those are the numbers. But right now, we want to shift focus to something different. And just this week, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission broke down the conflict hotspots in the country. In the run-up to the general election, these are some of the counties that might have a couple of issues to do with insecurity and were termed as hotspots in the run-up to the general election. Nairobi leading, unfortunately, with 79.85%. Nakuru following closely with 75.77%. And perhaps if I can just zoom in right here, some of these counties marked in red is what we're talking about as the hotspot counties that NCIC broke down during that latest report on the conflict hotspot mapping for Kenya. But let's take a look at some of the issues they highlighted that some of the residents feel might cause a little bit of tension. Of course, we're praying and hoping for peaceful, credible, free and fair general elections. But if these threats are not definitely taken a look at and resolutions were actually passed in that particular report, I'll just take you through some of them. But this was some of the threats that were identified within Nairobi County that might contribute to electoral violence. Threats identified mostly in unsafe areas in the county. When we're talking about drug abuse and political gangs and crimes, this is some of the threats that were identified in specific areas in Nairobi. Nairobi West, Kibra, playing a dominant role in contributing political gangs and drug abuse. When we take a look at Kariobangi North and Soko Stage, roughly around there, unemployment and idle youth were definitely perceived to contribute in one way or the other in terms of threats towards the peaceful general election. But this is in the Nairobi. Motorbike gangs, crime and small weapons, drugs and substance abuse, some of the issues that were raised from that particular report. But away from Nairobi, let's just take a look at something different. Sorry, we went all the way back. Let's take a look at some of the contributing factors in Nakuru, which was tag number 2 with 75.77% in terms of the gauge of some of the issues that might arise. Nakuru County, here we go. Some of the issues that were identified: political unrest, tribalism, militia groups and political competition, and land conflict. Political unrest predominantly in Bahati area right here, as you can see on the screen. Equally, Mukuru, Kwanjenga and Ruben, that's in Nairobi, I beg your pardon, but Kuresoi South right here, contributing generally with the tribalism angle. Definitely Molo, political unrest. We well know of the tough times we've had in that particular area, especially in the 2007 general elections. And these are some of the issues that NCIC has termed as threats towards the peaceful general election that we all envision. And of course, they passed a couple of resolutions in terms of a couple of issues that they want taken and look at in order to avert a possible crisis. And this is definitely broken down in some of the reports we usually hand over to you right here on KTN News. But still, with the violence index, Kericho County, let's just take a look briefly at some of the contributing factors in Kericho County. And if I'm not wrong, this should be it. Kericho County, and there you have it, some of the threats identified: idleness, especially amongst the youthful population; poverty; illegal brew, where this might be a contributing factor; ethnicity ties might play a critical role in sort of bringing in a threat in one way or the other when it comes to the general election. According to that NCIC report, the high rate of unemployment within the county is also a red flag when we take a look at some of the threats that were broken down in that particular report by NCIC. So there you have it, some of the threats in one way or the other that we definitely need to look out for and avert if possible in order to maintain a free, fair and peaceful election come 2022 August 9th. But away from that, I just highlighted a couple of issues to do with county data, and I'd just like to take a look at some of the key factors that will be looked at. If we can just go back, there we go, counties data. And we had zoomed in into, okay, I seem to have a small challenge with the map there, but what I was hoping is to sort of break down a couple of issues to do with the county's data in terms of the issues some of these governors will be taking a look at as they try a stab at leading various counties in the August 9th general election. But all to sum it up, it'll definitely be a tough race. Even as IEBC mentioned, they will have concluded with the auditing of the voters register as of this month. We expect a couple more of developments in terms of the numbers of the voters in the 2022 general election as of this month. So in the next edition of Lay of the Land, we'll be breaking down the numbers of the voters in the 2022 general election, equally taking a look at some of the tough competition areas when we take a look at the counties where we expect a tough race, quote unquote, just to mention. Well, that is definitely today's edition of Lay of the Land. I had a small challenge with the map right here, but technology issues, you well know about that. But more information to follow. You're watching Checkpoint. We'll be back with a lot more in terms of the day's top stories. Stay with us. We take a short break. We'll be back with more.